So, Merry late Christmas, and I got sick of answering the question all the time, so I just had a shirt made. So, keep it simple. There's the answer. So, this is a random kind of spur of the moment live feed. We'll give it a few minutes, see if we get anybody on here, and then we'll just get into it. Oh, yeah, heads up to anybody who is interested. I think right off camera, I got something that is going to be a absolute lifesaver, and would be that for any person who cuts firewood, uses a chainsaw. There's a few things that you really got to watch out for that can ruin your day and ruin your machine when it comes to tree care or cutting trees or making firewood, whatever it is. And I have the tool that's going to fix it now. So that video will be coming out on my memberships page, but I'm so stoked to have it, and it's gonna, not only is it gonna save me money, probably a good chunk of money, like it's gonna take some guessing out of a lot of the things I do. It's gonna make things a bit safer, and the aggravation that I get from not having this tool is not going to be there anymore. So I don't got to worry about it. So I am absolutely stoked to show that. So if you're interested, also for the memberships, there's still 4 stickers left. The first people that join the memberships, I'll be sending those out. And I know it's not much for a gift here at first, as you know, as far as that goes. But they'll get better. Like I'll take care of my members. We'll do some sorts of giveaways and stuff. And I'm pushing a lot of my a lot of my content's gonna push over to there. I'm not gonna lessen anything that I actually do for YouTube for my actual channel. But I'm gonna, all the extra time that I plan on putting in, I'm gonna push in that direction. So there's gonna be a whole lot of like informational stuff, how-to stuff, and then like demonstrations, explanations, that kind of stuff. So if you're a newer like climber or somebody that's getting into cutting trees or falling trees, it may be a good resource. I think it's $4.99 a month, but yeah, right now it is a very small army that we have going. I just started them, but yeah, we're little by little building the 2-stroke army, but one member at a time. Christmas gift. Also, less headaches. So I use I think it's the Hero Black 8, and I also have like a Black 7, I think. So I use those, or maybe it's a 6, but the 6, the quality's not the best, and so I use the 8 most of the time. It has the thing where it balances itself out, so like when I'm up in a tree and I shock load it and it shakes all over, the camera keeps it balanced, so it lessens a lot of that as far as the view of the video. John, what's up, brother? How are you? Yeah, you too, John. How was it? How was your... So here's... I had a gift card to Walmart from last year's Christmas that I kept all year long, and it was almost Christmas again, and I realized it, and I was like, oh, shoot. So I ordered myself, for my wife and daughter, this is my Christmas gift, and I got some other stuff too, but I needed batteries. That was my issue I kept running into, is that my batteries a lot of times would say that they're charged, and then I would get there, I would put them in the camera, and it would go dead instantly. And it just drove me nuts. So, let me move you guys a little closer so I can actually read the comments. Red Dad, what's up? How are we? Big takedown only today. I was thankful for. Oh, dang. So, the issue, in my opinion, with a lot of the GoPros is that you actually have to use the camera to charge the battery. So you have to put the GoPro battery inside the camera and then plug the camera, which means if you need to charge the battery, you can't use your camera. And also, I feel like you can burn your camera a lot easier by doing it that way. I've had hero sessions, like I've probably got 4 or 5 GoPros that they may work. It may just be the batteries that are shot, but I've lost GoPros, I've smashed GoPros, and they just burn up when you have to use the actual camera to charge. So I have a dual port charger for like I think it's like a silver, Hero Silver 5, and like I'll probably give that to somebody one day. You could check and see if you can find new batteries for it, and it would probably, somebody could start a YouTube channel easily with it. But this is stupid. You know what? This was supposed to come with 2 batteries. Figures. That's crazy. How shady is that? So instead, I have 1 new battery. I have 3 batteries already, 1 new one, and what we have now is a dual charging port. So what I can do is I can slap 2 batteries in it and have it charging in the truck while I'm recording with the one that, before it goes dead. I always keep a battery box with me, so that'll be cool. We can start to do that. That'll make things a bit easier, a bit simpler. It's very strange how big that is, but yeah, comes with a new charger cord too. So I'm stoked on that. There's been times where a video ends really abrupt or weird because of the battery situation. But yeah, maybe we won't have that so often like we have been. So yeah, the GoPro issue fixed. Doing well, brother. Hope you had a wonderful holiday. I can't complain, brother. I cannot complain. Buddy Corey gave me a Drift HD years back. Used to use mine. Should bust it out. My Canon PowerShot isn't working anymore. Yeah, that's awesome. My wife, she has a really, really, really fancy camera that she's taken some pictures of me with that at times, and the quality difference is unreal with them things. But yeah, I always just kind of stick to my GoPros because they're kind of a bit sturdier, stronger, and I don't have to worry about destroying. I say don't have to worry about destroying them, but I have an impact box that I made, and I used to. If you look back on the content, I was constantly slamming logs onto it, slamming trees onto it, smashing it, and I don't do that all that much because I get down to where I have like one good camera, and the concern of, yeah, if I break this or destroy this right now, the channel just basically comes to an abrupt end. Yeah, I kind of hold off on that, but I've been using my phone. That's why I only make shorts right now. Hey, it gets the job done though. My phone is just it. I have trouble doing the live feeds. My phone's so cracked up reading the comments, and my quality on my phone, it's very old. So um, everything that I do for my YouTube channel, I don't have a computer. Like I've never owned a computer. Like I've bought my wife and daughter laptops and stuff, but I've never had one. I've never owned one. I've never used like okay, I've used a computer, but everything I do is on my on my phone. So I edit on my phone, I export and transfer everything to my phone, build the video, then put it onto YouTube from there. So my phone gets worked overtime on this whole gig, and at times I get to feeling guilty and bad for it. So, what do you think I should show from the ground guy's perspective? Well, I look at it as if it's a repetitive aspect of the video that's going to be pretty much the same all the time. A couple shots of them, if they're running a bollard, a couple shots of them running the bollard would be sufficient. You could mix them in and like use the same shot at times, like even repeat it, you know. But if it's just the same thing over and over and over, you know, but it, there's okay. You guys get maybe 10-minute videos at times. There's hours and hours and hours of footage that I record, and there's times where the camera is pointed in the absolute wrong direction and it's just wasted. So you have to be okay with wasting some. If you're going to start to get kind of creative like that, you have to know that maybe at times you're recording stuff that you're going to just throw away. But that's the game. I mean, unless you try to do raw videos, which then you have to constantly be like focusing on, oh yeah, I need to make sure it's always on, it's always on, it's always on, because I'm going to do this raw and I'm going to show everything. So why would you want to show, if your camera flips down straight to your helmet, you're not going to show your helmet all the time. Let's see, feeding chipper, dragging brush, bucking logs, etc., raking yard all. Yeah, but I'm thinking like if the ground guy's rigging, you know, you could get away with just doing a few, like if you only have one camera, record your stuff that you're doing, and then get a couple close-ups of him running the rope, letting a piece go, you know, and go down, or a couple clips of him setting the bollard up, tightening it up, and getting everything set into place, so you can see what he's doing down there to partner with the guy that's up there doing the work. So same way with the tree cutting aspect, that you know, you show the climbing aspect because that's its own thing. You show the climbing ropes and setup, that's its own thing. And then when you start to get to cutting, like you try to switch the angles up. If you're doing the same thing over and over, you angle switch so that it doesn't get repetitive. But like all these tips that I give you, I'm guilty of not following them. That's just kind of, sometimes it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work to constantly put out videos and to record and make these videos. This is absolutely a labor of love for me. It is not lucrative. I don't make any money when it's all said and done on YouTube. I don't make a penny. So, you know, if for some reason I think I make like $60 a month. So sometimes it takes 2 months before they send me a payment because you got to make $100. And in that amount of time, I guarantee you I've spent that on like SD cards or like batteries, cleaning stuff for the camera. Like if a tripod gets broke, mounts, like it's a never ending pit for the most part. But logistics of getting your equipment in the right place for each job. Yeah. Yeah, there's little aspects of all of it that you could show. So um yeah, we could talk climbing devices. I've been thinking about switching over to back to hitchcord for a while, and the other day while we were having our discussion made me really start to think about it even more. So I'm gonna mess here. Yesterday we talked about the difference. Today in that live feed, we talked about the difference between these double-eyed tethers and the single-eyed tethers, how they align, how they set up onto a carabiner, and why you would want a certain type of micro pulley. So, like this is a micro pulley right here. So this one's from Notch. Yank, what's up, brother? How are you? I hope your Christmas was good. This is another micro pulley from ISC. You can see it's different. This one, two pieces go together. This one separated. So this one, I would say, designed for a dual eyed tether. Okay? Because what happens if you set the single one up here, it ends up working its way off of there and up the carabiner as it's clipped on. It like wiggles its way up the carabiner here. So this micro pulley, on the other hand, meant for a single one because you actually go in between and lock in there. So then you're hooked up. Knowing which one to use, when you're buying your micro pulley is kind of important. I would say more than likely you'll have better luck going with the double-eyed tethers, but if you want to buy a single one, you can buy a single one. What I like a little more about this single one is that it did have a attachment point for slack tending, but let's see if I can move this camera in some and still get this in the shot. There we go. How's that? I'll move in a little bit. Okay. Got a boogie, y'all. Have a good night. Oh, right on, John. Hey, Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year, brother. Thanks for stopping in. Had 2 removals and 1 trim, all climbing work. Right on, yay. That's sick. Hope it was fun. So, yeah, I was just talking about... I got a gift for Christmas that is gonna... It's so awesome. There's issues when you're doing tree climbing, tree removal that you face every single day. And I've talked about how I'm a person that basically what I'll do is I will find the issues that I see and the dangers, and then I'll try to solve that problem, but instantly that's like with rigging. If I look up and I see that the tree has a bad union, but I still need to rig off that union, my instinct is to, okay, well, I need to figure out a way to strengthen that union. So I'll spread the stuff out a certain way, or figure out a way to mitigate that risk, because there's nothing but risk in this. So you always just try to lessen it when you can. Jesus, what am I doing? But yeah, I found a secret tool, and I'm telling you, tree guys out there, you're gonna want to have this tool when it's all said and done. It's very cheap, I think. It may cost around maybe 15, 20 bucks, and it will save me money every time that I take a log or a tree down. Every single time. It will save me money every single time. But you guys, I'm just a heads up. That footage will be going on my memberships, and eventually that stuff from the memberships will work its way over here to YouTube. I don't know how long I'll leave it up there, but like I said, we're trying to build the old 2-stroke army over there, and we don't have a whole lot of members yet, but we'll build it up. So, what? Maybe if I give it the old XT, see how this sets up. I was just talking about how I would like to switch over again to using Prussics, and the issue I run into with that is how long it usually takes to set it up. You can't beat these mechanical devices when it comes to how quick that they set up in comparison. But yeah, I just figured I'd hook it up here, see what it looks like. So this is a hitch climber pulley with a Greg Brown aluminum tether and a hitch climber Prusik rope wrench setup. So you see how that's that extra twist. So your VT would cross and then go around and cross and then go around and cross, front, back, front, back. Well, with the XT, where you would cross once, you cross again, you create that X there. That causes a bit more friction. I like it more than the VT, but you know, that's just maybe a preference thing. I feel like I have less setback in this than I do the VT, and depending on your tether length, a lot of times it can be aggravating to tie certain knots. So, but yeah, so that is one of Greg's tethers with the friction hitch. It's really clean, really nice. See, you don't have the issue of the two things touching. You don't want that, because when you compress that down, I like it to be close. That way with one hand I can compress the wrench down here, and then with the bottom of my hand start to compress the knot in case I wanted to move it really quick. But you don't want them to touch, mainly because when you go to ascend, you know, if they're smashing on each other and then you go to, you know, engage it again, that's an issue. You don't want to, every time that you break that down, you don't want it to smash into your pulley or to your Prusik and start to descend you just because you're trying to disengage the wrench. But yeah, it's still a nice clean setup. Yeah, I'll just switch over and use my black wrench here on my rest of my stuff, like the zigzag wrench and stuff. So this is, I've told you guys, I have other tethers, but I don't use them because I'm a huge fan of Greg Brown's tethers. So it is one of these right here. Just a very, very nice. Just, it looks a bit mechanical, which I enjoy. I enjoy just the sight of it. I think the chicane is one of the ugliest things that has ever come out in tree work. It's hideous. It's god awful. It looks funky. But it looks like it should be on some weird rock climbing setup. But you know, to each their own. I'm not a fan of it at all. But I have seen where they talk a bit of trash on other, like when people have those, they think that it's the end all be all, and I don't agree. I don't agree. They say that you have to have the chicane to run this SRT. I've had a different experience. Maybe that's just me, but my experience is when using the zigzag, the Greg Brown tether and a regular wrench has worked absolutely perfect. I've never had any issues. I've never had any slippage going on to where it starts to drift. But let's take that Prusik off. Now let's set up zigzag and then the wrench. So for anybody that doesn't have a zigzag, which what you'll do is it comes like this. You push that one down and you start collapsing them onto each other. And then when you get them all pushed down, oh shoot. When you get them all pushed down, this is how you know you got it right. Push it down there. Then you just slide that whole thing backwards. So you're compressed like this. Then you feed your rope in. This rope has a little bit of a knot at the end of it where I melted it, but it should still go through. So what happens is you feed the rope through till it comes out the bottom of the pulley. Twisting it is what helps me a lot when I put it in. As long as you keep twisting it, it'll keep the rope. Let me show you. Like if you push in on a rope, see how it gets fatter? It swells. Well, if you twist, it'll keep it tight and keep it skinny as you put it in. So it'll help go through any different devices that you need to, that are like not midline attachable. So when you have a device like that, that would be my suggestion. I've always just used the zigzag. Well, hey, that's good too, Yank. But so you have your zigzag. I personally don't use DRT because you have to move twice as much rope. I'm just not a fan of that. When I move a foot of rope, I want to go a foot. So I don't want to have to move 2 feet just to move a foot. And it just, to me, it's just more comfortable. I can go against different, like, I can weave myself all throughout a tree 50,000 different ways. My device on that rope is still going to respond the same as if I stayed straight from my tying point, because the rope doesn't move. So if the rope doesn't need to move, it doesn't matter how many things you've got your rope again, how much friction you've created, what mess you got going on. As long as the rope is still there, it moves because the rope's stationary. But in a dual rope system, that rope has to move. So we would pull that down. And now we're in a dual rope. I don't want to rip that down. A dual rope setup. So if we would do this and we anchored this to the other end, as you see, one side of the rope will stay attached to the device while the other side moves. So this rope is constantly moving at the anchor point. So what happens is if you get yourself up in a tree and you're dual roped and you want to round a branch like this and you're tied, the camera, you want to round like this pole here. Now you have that dual rope. The rope tries to move and it rubs against this, and you lose all your action into your climbing device. There's a lot of advantages to SRT, but it's just after you get used to it, it's really, really hard to even think about ever going back. Right on, Yank. Done by 10:30. Right on, brother. That's sick. So let's attach a wrench to this. So we'll go with this one here. So the Greg Brown tether has different attachments, different plates that go on here. And as you can see, there's the one for the hitch climber pulley. Here's the one for the zigzag. Much different. So the reason for it, hitch climber pulley, where it connects, there's the zigzag, and there's the hitch climber pulley. Much skinnier. So you need that extra room. Now, normally, when I go to set this up, you would think you would take a carabiner and clip it in there, and that works. I mean, it really does. And then it gives me a connection point right here for like throwing my lanyard over my shoulder, and I'll clip it in there. So then when I go up, it tends to slack for me really nice. But the thing I don't like is how this is like all in the way here and gets all like, it gets in the way, like things get all crossed up. So actually this suggestion, I believe, came to me from Greg Brown. Greg told me to go try this, and I was like, well, I don't know, man, like I don't really know about those things, and I don't really know if I trust those things fully. But this is a quickie link from Notch. Notch is the one that makes them. So this makes this so much cleaner of a setup. Now, the one thing I do wish that quickie links had is the same thing that a rope wrench has. So with a quickie link, you got to pop the 2 pins. There's a pin there and a pin there. See them both? Hang on. So when it's here, you just go push the first one, push the second one. So it's nice to have it be that solid. It's got a backup in case it was to get pushed for some god-awful reason and you messed up. Well, the thing I don't like is, as you've seen right there, you also have to push both of them at the second point. Well, rope wrenches, you don't do that. So the way a rope wrench works, it's only got the one pin, okay, but you take one, you move it in. Now, when you get it here, you spin it. And there's a little, like, cutout in there that if it's set up right, as you go to, like, watch, if I put it the other way, the pin the other way, that cutout isn't on this side of the wrench. So if I go to take it out now, I can spin it all I want. Nothing happens. There's no cutout on this. I wonder if I can show it from underneath better. You can see that little part right there, that little lip that's cut out. I think it may have showed better from here. It's just really hard to see. You can see the dust on that little lip right there. So if you put it in there the right way, you can actually, you only have to pull one pin, and then twist. So I wish, I don't know if it would work. Let's try. If it would work with a double pin, probably not. Oh, it's too big. So, but that would be nice if it had some sort of a setup like that. But that's just me nitpicking. So we take the quickie link here and we get rid of this carabiner. It's just too big and gaudy. And we take the quickie link and we hook it up. Joseph, what's up, brother? How are you? And we just take and run it through all the holes there. Push it through. So what's nice about this right here is that it's still big enough for me to take my lanyard, throw it up over my shoulder, clip into it, and then as I go up, it tends my slack for me. It works really good, tends the slack really nice. But if you compare, look how nice and uniform all this is. This doesn't interfere at all with the carabiner. Plus, it's just a little lever there. You know, it actually falls down and lays up underneath, out of the way, where a carabiner will get stuck, and it'll be like sitting out here, just ready to catch and get in the way of everything. So, Quickie Link is, that's the ticket. Greg was, not only is Greg a great builder, he understands the way things work, and like, he put me onto that idea, and I'm sold, and I don't like setting it up any other way. There's days where you'll be in a hurry and maybe just like, give me a carabiner. But anytime in the saddle, I want it set up nice and correct. But not a whole lot, Joseph. How you been, brother? I've always just used the zigzag. Yeah, I've not done a lot of SRT. Most of my time when I climb, I swing from one point to another in the tree, and I can just pull my rope out and reset in a different spot. Right on, right on. Yeah, there's those times where, you know, you could set it up every which way. Like a lot of times, what I'll do is if I'm SRT and I know I'm going to be doing stuff like that, I will take the tail end of my rope and I will anchor it up there to my tie-in point, and then I will climb over to a different section of the tree, get over there. And then if I need to get it, I just start pulling on my rope until I get up to that tail, and I'll retrieve the system, pull it back down to me, reset it if I want. But yeah, it's this may be the smoothest, possibly the nicest setup I've ever climbed on. So I just never had issues. It just always worked flawlessly, and I loved it. So this, I believe the zigzag is from Nee Nigget and Jared Sprague, and wrench I think was actually that head is from Jared too. But yeah, just an amazing device. If you've never climbed zigzag SRT with a wrench, I don't know if it works as good with a regular tether, I'm just being straight up with you. I don't know. I think, in my opinion, the fact that this setup has this bend in it helps everything and works so much because of the way that this device intends to, engage itself like that, and when it compacts to ascend. I think the bend in this lends to either one. So really like the bit of an arc it's got to it. Not to mention it's such a good little, like, if you find yourself needing to grab a hold of the device, a handle, sometimes like with other devices you're like holding right where you, if you bump it wrong, you would move, where with this setup you don't really have to worry about that. You can grab this, hold out, and if you had to reach to grab something, it just, you wouldn't think that you would use your rope wrench as a handle much until you have a handle there and you can use it. So hit them thumbs, guys. Yeah, hey, if you guys don't mind, yeah, you could be, that would be so sick if everybody would hit the thumb, but or hit the thumb down. Like I don't care. I always say that, like, we can make a deal. I'm okay with you watching everything. You don't have to give me, it's all free. It's either you have to tell me if you like it or don't like it, or just give me whatever money you got and super thanks or super chats or whatever. You can choose. Like, you can do the thumb down or give me all your money. I think it's fair. But yeah. So like I said, this is the Cadillac. This device was just, it's just this it's perfect. It's so perfect. So what up, Peter? You can take this device and set up a really nice 3-to-1 setup, which is a way to rope walk yourself up into the tree, but you don't have to have a foot ascender or nothing. So what you would do is you would just click a hand ascender right up above it. You would take the rope that's coming out, put like a carabiner on here, clip it on. Now you don't actually, if you're somebody who was to hip thrust or something, you don't have to even hip thrust. You could pull yourself up with your hand. But let me show you how this works. So, man, please don't rip out of the wall. So if I pull here, what happens is it will lift the device and it puts it on a 3-to-1. And if it's actually weighted like I was clipped in, it would tend it from here and go up. But you put a little foot loop on that and you can set, stand, set, stand, set, stand. And you don't have to like rope walk your way up with both feet. You can actually rope walk with one leg. So for somebody who has an issue with like bad knees, or like one leg is much stronger, it's a dominant leg, and you really want to be able to rope walk and stuff, but you just, it's common to have a dominant leg where you've developed an injury in one leg or maybe arthritis, and you don't want to jump onto that leg or put a bunch. There's been many times in my life where I switched and I didn't rope walk on a tree, all because my knee was messed up that day. So instead of rope walking, I set up a 3-to-1 and I just set into my saddle. I put my foot into a, where was that at? I think I just put it up. So I got, nope, that's not it. I got a foot loop right here. I would attach that foot loop to this hand ascender, and I would put my foot into that, and I would step up on this, and then I would tend that slack, which would tend the device up, and then you move the hand ascender up. And what happens is whatever leg you have in this foot loop will, what it does is it works, like, you have to remember, lift this leg as you lift this hand. Other than that, it's a very natural, smooth, like, way of standing, sitting, standing, sitting. You could switch legs. If one leg got tired, you could switch over, use the right leg. But it's not the fastest way to rope walk up a tree, but it may be the easiest, less stressful, like, on the body. It's so easy, but it's definitely not the fastest. You're going about half of what a normal person would. Mr. Freedom, how are you? And thank you. I do actually do that setup a lot. Yeah, and that 3-to-1 setup, man, having this set up like if you were tied in here and a hand extender and you take your rope and you went out on a long rope walk and you clipped it up into your hand descender off of a pulley or a micro pulley or something, what you could do is go way out on a limb walk, and you can kind of let yourself out with this end of the rope, and then when you're coming in, you can actually grab this rope and you have a 3-to-1 to pull yourself back in. So even if you're like very horizontal to your tie-in point, if you've ever been in that situation, you're weightless at times. Like you can't put any weight into the system because you want to roll. But in this way, you can set back into it and put it into that 3-to-1 and bring yourself back in from a limb walk so easy. And I learned all those kind of setups from this device. So I went from climbing on a knot and not knowing anything. Then I found what did I get? I think I may have got the hitch climber pulley and Prusik. So then I climbed DRT with a hitch climber setup, and that was just mind blowing to me because I had your normal one connection point, but then I had two more connection points. If I wanted to hook my lanyard up into there, I could. If I wanted to hook a secondary tie-in point into it, I could. That was a game changer for me. I was like, this is sick. SRT is a game changer. I agree 100%, Mr. Freedom. And I just think it's hard for some people to make the jump and commit to it because it's really hard to when you see it and it works, it's like, oh, why didn't I understand this? Why? But you're changing things, the muscle memories that you've had your entire career. A lot of guys are trying to switch to that, and that's tough. That's very tough, and I understand that 100%. But I would never steer you in the wrong way. I'm telling you, for your longevity and for your body on a daily basis, SRT is a game changer. So yes, and it's expensive, Mr. Freedom. So here I wanted to get into SRT. Like I said, I'm on a hitch climber pulley at that point. I had just moved from a hitch climber pulley and started to climb on it from a regular taut line hitch, which is just a rope with a tied knot. So I'm like, I want to learn SRT. What's the cheapest SRT setup I could find? And that's when rope wrenches were just starting to be talked about. So how much is a good rig for a beginner? I would say, so I can't really remember 100%, but I think around, it could be anywhere from $2 to like maybe around $200, I think, is what, little over probably, but about $200 you'll get this setup. And this setup is, it's if your main concern a lot of times is getting up into the tree, this thing's amazing. I think this device is a little hard when it comes to moving around and descending in the tree. So I would say like this, after I had it for a while, this is the best secondary device I think anybody could ever find. But as a primary, not the best. But if I'm doing short climbs, this device will get you up into the tree, and there's none easier. There's none easier out there. So what this is the Petzl Grigri. Okay? This device cracks open like this. There's Petzl in there on the inside. And there's a little drawing of a guy climbing. It shows you which way the rope's supposed to go. So the way this thing works is it's a loaded cam. If you pull that down, see how that cam loads. And when that cam loads, this pinches on the rope in this setup here. So your weight pulling down on this device actually engages it and makes it work. It's always good to learn with knots first, then devices. So if your device falls, excellent point, Amber. Like, that is such a good point. Skipping steps isn't good. So I'm never, if somebody's like, I just learned how to climb, like, or I'm trying to learn how to climb, I'm not like, you should do this. I guess I kind of am here. He said for a beginner. I think you need to know how to tie a taut line hitch. And I'll show you that here in a second. For those beginner people that are out there, I'll show you something you could start out with, and all you need is simply a rope. And it's very, very easy. But Amber, 1,000% right that if you're up in a tree and you're undoing a device or switching a device, there's the likeliness of you dropping it. You know how many damn times I have dropped this micro pulley. It's black too, so it's hard to find usually when it falls. That I've dropped it a billion times. I've dropped carabiners so many times. It's a regular occurrence. So I love the mobility of SRT. I just need to get a custom to setting the advantages up to get back up after descending a bit. Moving down and back up on SRT is something I need to work on. Yeah, I mean, and that all comes with experience. You're developing new muscle memory on everything, so that's just the way it works, man. Without being in the Boy Scouts, is there a good book for knots? Yeah, and I would say just you know, I'm sure there's 1,000 books out there. Like the Fundamentals of Tree Climbing is a good book, but you can just as easily go to a lot of these YouTube pages and learn. Like I'm going to, my membership page is going to be almost most of it is going to be how-to stuff and like explanation of knots and everything and techniques. So that's what I'm going to focus on in the membership area. But this setup got me into SRT, and I was really, really stoked with it. So the way it sets up, you know, I showed you where that little guy was at. So it goes on the rope going up. So, and I'll turn this around here so you can see me set it up. It goes in there. Then it goes through. Wiggle it into place. Okay. You can lay it over. Now you close this. You gotta pull that up there. And it closes. So now it's pinched into place. When you drop your weight down into it, that's when that cam engages. And it engages there. Now the rope is absolutely pinched into place. After video, you have to video, yeah. I appreciate it, Mr. Freedom. I appreciate it. Okay, so the issue with this device is body weight. So the thing that helps it and makes it work and everything is also the issue with trying to use it, because what happens is you get up, you're hooked in, okay, and then to get it to go down, what is the acronym? It is stationary rope technique, because what happens when you're climbing on a double rope or dual rope, that's called MRS, and that's called a moving rope system, because as you're using it, the rope is moving through the crotch up there. That friction is kind of slowing everything down. This is a stationary rope setup, so it's really easy to just shoot your lines up into trees, go over a good union, anchor that line off either on the base of the tree or up in the canopy, and now you have a fixed line that you're climbing on. This is what I would recommend for people that do palm trees. I think it should almost be a must, because if you're climbing on a moving rope system and those fronds get down onto you and they lock into the rope and they don't allow that rope to move, you can't get down. You know, on a stationary system, even if you got smashed in with the fronds, at least you could move and get out. But having on a moving rope system, when those guys get closed in on at times, even if you was to be able to get your body free, you can't get your rope to move anymore. So then you're stuck in there, and I think that maybe at times there could have been a couple less deaths in those situations if SRT was being moved or used on a stationary system as opposed to DRT, which is easier, but it's being used and it's a moving rope system. And when those things close down, they cause, despite the fact the big spikes that are on it, if it didn't even have that, just the stuff laying down onto the rope can't move no more. And if the rope can't move, you're stuck. So, yeah, Mr. Freedom understands SRT can become aggravating if you get a bunch of sap on your rope, but it doesn't happen much because you're doing a pine tree or something. Your rope is stationary, it stays there, it doesn't move. Well, it doesn't get covered in sap because the bark protects it. Well, not that case on a dual rope system, on a moving rope system. You're up in a pine tree. As your rope's moving through that crotch, it's getting covered in sap nonstop. And there are just times where I will go climb on MRS or DRT just for the fun of doing it and just to remind myself that it's there. But it's a technique I think you need to know. I don't think if you want to do anything complicated when it comes, other than just go up and come down, I think you should really focus on those basics, because those basics can either save you or they'll be your downfall. So I was discussing this with my partner the other day because of how palms can suffocate you with falling fronds. Good technique. Yeah, we had a live feed a while back where we discussed this, and I had seen another death in the fronds, catching them and getting them stuck in there. And I just really started thinking about it, and at first, my opinion was more of locating the rope into it and not just free climbing up and getting stuck with a buck strap. My focus was making sure you were tied in at all times, and then you could actually work yourself on the outside of the fronds instead of from under them through it. Then I'm like, no, not only that, SRT is much better because on a moving system, you're not getting the rope to move. So the discussion added even more to it, and before I realized it, there was multiple reasons that, in my opinion, SRT should be used instead of DRT. But, people don't have to listen. They can do whatever they want. That's the beauty of being a individual, a human, I guess. But so this is how I learned the 3-to-1 setup. This setup was it was Petzl's SRT Ascension setup, and I've had this for years and years and years. So it's a long time ago. I doubt they sell all of this together, but maybe they do. So what it came with was, and I've already lost it. So I left it at a person's house, and I think they stole it and then didn't give it back to me, which is kind of lame. But you get a hand ascender. It was a Petzl one. Yank taking off. Gotta go, guys. Oh, right on, bro. Hey, thank you always. Yank, you're the man. Have a good one. Have a Happy New Year, brother. So this came. You get the Grigri, a hand ascender, a foot loop, and the foot loop is also Petzl. And then I think I got 2 carabiners came with it also. Got this carabiner, and then there's another one that I'm not digging out right now, but it came with 2 Petzl carabiners. So the way you set this system up is, did it come with a micro? Yeah, it came with a micro pulley too. I lost that micro pulley also. So the way it works is, I'll show you as it's all set up, and then I'll explain it to you. So you clip it in, you clip your foot loop in, and you'll adjust this out to your height, your legs, your arm length. It'll take some adjusting on the actual foot loop itself, but what you end up with is this. So you're clipped in with the device, and then you've got this. You put your foot into the foot loop, as we were talking about. William, what's up, man? As we were talking about earlier, I like on my devices, I do like to have at least some kind of a special triple locking carabiner, like this one, or something like this. So what I'll do, clip in, and what I like these because you can screw lock it down, and then I don't have to worry about something bumping up against my carabiner and opening it up and unclipping me off my device. There's been a lot of times where stuff like that has been very close to happening, but and I haven't even showed you how this device really works, but you're clipped in, and this is how I learned SRT. I'm on a stationary rope. I would put my foot into that foot loop, which I guess we can do a little bit. Set up like this. Clip this to my belt. See the shirt my mother-in-law got me? Sick, isn't it? And then as you pull up on this, see it tens it. I'm about to rip the wall down. And then you extend that up, and then keep your tail with you and pull. And that's how you walk yourself up this rope. It's very simple. I don't think there's an easier way to do it. And then you can also, if you have this set up, you get up quite a ways, and you want to like go out onto a limb, you can stay like this, stay tied in. And what's nice about this, you can stay tied in and keep this end, which you're doubled right now, you're up through that micro pulley, and you can descend down or walk out on a limb. And then here's where when you come back in, you have a 3-to-1 setup, so you can keep your system tight and keep your weight into your system the whole time while you're rope walking in and while you're rope walking out, or not rope walking, but limb walking in or limb walking out. So it's not so much when you get out on the point where you need to cut. You can get your lanyard position, you can use a secondary device. It's getting out there and getting back in is where the danger happens. You want to roll one way or the other, you slip off the branch one way or the other. The way to prevent that with my experience, on my way out, I'm staying with my weight into my system. I'm almost facing my system. I may turn a little bit and like walk and keep my weight back into the system. Good angle. That way it's not all shaky back and forth. I'll go all the way out, and then on my way back in, I will face my anchor, and I will start to walk my way back in with this rope. If I needed to, this is easy one hand. It's no problem. Like I lift myself up into the tree and rope walk up the tree with one hand. That's all you really need. You don't have to have this foot loop. You could take this, pull it up above you, and pull. So up above you, pull. And I guarantee you this is more than it's you feel half as heavy as you do when you do normal hip thrusting. So plus you're 10 times more efficient with this setup because you have this micro pulley up here actually giving you a mechanical advantage. Every time that you go to pull in, you're getting a mechanical advantage. So oh, thanks, Mr. Freedom. Yeah, this is what taught me SRT. I got an understanding of everything SRT to where now I get up there and I don't need to rope walk anymore. Most of the time, what I do is I unclip this setup. I go straight to the device. I keep all this stuff kind of together here. I clip it in. I take this loop down here and I clip it up. So now I've compacted everything that I had there down into a pretty small little setup. I'll kind of turn it upside down to where everything runs together. And now I've got everything in this little bundle right here. I'll clip that onto the back of me. And then at any point while I'm climbing, if I need to rope walk again, I just quickly take this around here, clip the hand ascender in, drop the foot loop down, take this, hook it on, back up, good to go. You don't have to have the micro pulley. You can eliminate it. We can take it out of the system and just use a carabiner. So in that situation, I would use a rounded carabiner, a little smoother on the rope, a little easier on the rope. But you could just clip in with the carabiner. You don't have to have the micro pulley. You're still going to get a 3-to-1 setup there. You're just not going to get the advantages, the mechanical advantage that a pulley would give you. But next gen tree. It is a sweet shirt. Good looking out, moms. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now I don't have to answer the question. Like, you know, I get asked it all the time. Come on. Come on. So once you get up, how you lower and down? Yeah, okay. So, the clip, like we were saying before, and we are just set up, tied in, and climbing. If I got way away from my tie-in point, and I find at any point, if I start to feel awkward, or that I'm a long ways from my tie-in point, I keep stuff like this with me at all times. And I'll throw it, even if I'm on a stem, and I'm afraid I'm going to slip, or I need a little better work position, I'll throw this around the stem, and I will clip in. Right in front of me. So now, I could slip, I could gaff out, I could do whatever, I could jump off the tree, I'm here. There's no potential for me to take a long swing. It's just not even possible. So having little straps with you allows you, when you start to get away from certain spots, the potential for taking a long swing and slamming back in, you can just set redirects around, like knowing you need to go way down there. You may go up a little bit, put a redirect that lowers you right down onto it. So, okay, no. I'm trying my best to keep up with comments, guys. Just thinking, or just tuning in. Oh, what's up, Next Gen? How are you? I agree, SRT is superior, but it can be dangerous using a basal tie. Forces applied are different, and rope oftentimes running back through work area. Okay. I hear a lot of stock answers, and I'm not trying to call anybody out, but I hear a lot of very stock answers from people that when it comes to base anchoring or SRT, and like, I understand the stretch in a rope, but that's the only thing that you're dealing with. It will differ for a canopy anchor, but that union is as strong as that union is. Okay? Now, I think a lot of guys' issue when it comes to setting a rope is they put themselves in a weak union, and they try to depend on a weak union, which ends up not being good. But as long as you put yourself into a good union, at times, this is just my opinion, a base anchor is stronger than a canopy anchor. So, but the problem is the potential for the rope breaking is where the actual fear, in my opinion, would be at. So base anchoring, the rope coming back into the work area. I just put a video out where I discuss, if you're going to use a base anchor on a removal or something where you're going to be climbing, rigging, cutting a lot the entire time, as the climber, just to stay safe, what I will do is I will climb all the way up to the top. I will tie a midline knot. I will take my strap. I will throw it around a branch at the very top, and I will, well, here, I'll move this device down a little bit. Let's just pretend this is an alpine butterfly. But I would tie a knot in my base anchor. I would clip a strap to it after I threw it around a branch, and I would be actually canopy anchored. So the reason for switching to the canopy anchor is, like you're saying, if a guy's down at the base and he's using a pole saw and he's swiping around your base anchor rope, or if you're rigging and the potential for the branch grabbing your rope is there, doing this and going up and setting yourself, you still have the base anchor set up, you canopy anchor that way, and then at any point, if you don't want to bother your guy and have him undo your stuff and then reset everything, you can do like I'm saying. Go up, slap you a redirect, put a termination knot, and then now you're on a fixed set there, and even if the base anchor got cut off, you're not going anywhere. So literally that tree, make sure you know your ground guy. Yeah. Fax redirects anytime. Yeah. Any more than one. I prefer canopy anchor when possible. Yeah, I think I'm a base anchor guy. Like, I've done I do base anchor removals, and there's a special technique Like it's its own thing for sure. The reason I don't like canopy anchors as much is because at times you need to access a perfect shot, and if you have a tree that has, you know, limb, the likeliness of you getting your throw ball over that one limb and then getting it all the way back to you with no other limbs being in between and getting it cinched up can be very time consuming. So I think base anchor, no matter what, no matter if you're going to go straight up, have them untie it, and go canopy anchor, I still think base anchor saves you a whole bunch of time setting it up, and it's just easier. So there's those times though where I set a canopy anchor, but I've used base anchors to do massive removals and never untie that base anchor and do a full removal of a tree. There's little techniques that allow you to be able to do something like that. So, hey, I gotta go. Thanks for the. Oh, hey, 502 Well. Hey, thank you for stopping in. I appreciate you hanging out. Have a good one and have a good New Year. Basal tie doubles the forces felt at the canopy. You are not correct, sir. It doubles the force at the canopy. What does that mean? Hang on. Same as a redirect, I'm rigging. Anchor feels double the load applied. Do something here. Where's that at? Oh, there it is. So it's same as rigging, right? I just want to. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you can explain it to me. So. Let's do this. More? Okay, there. All right. Okay. See, I'm not going off any book learning, like anything. Like I'm only going off personal experience. So, maybe I've just been absolutely completely lucky in life. So, what up, Greg? So let's do this. Um. Oh, shoot. Why can't I set this up right? That way I'm not making it confusing. I want to make it easy to see, too. So, you have this, okay? Let's say, so if you threw a rope up and you canopy anchored there, do you think it's stronger than if I threw my rope up, it went up through this union and down to here, and I anchored it? Who's got the stronger setup? I'm not talking about what kind of forces you're putting on the rope, because I think what's happening is that's the only thing people focus on is how much force is being put on the rope itself. I want to know, because I don't care about the rope as much as I care. What about these unions? Like, there's too many other variables to make a statement like this is stronger than this at all times. So this right here, canopy anchor, it's lower. You're going to use even less rope than if I threw up through there. But what happens is I'm causing compression into this log at all times. Straight up the back, straight down. There's no negative space in between the rope. It is up against the tree. Now I've got a clean shot up. I've went through that union. I'm back down. I'm almost, let's say, twice as high as yours. I'm using 4 times as much rope, three times as much rope, and I still feel like mine's stronger. So what you're anchoring to, I don't think that gets discussed, because you have a branch here that is not vertical. You're causing tension on this branch, where location and how you put it in either causes compression or tension. So you want compression to give strength. You don't want tension because or stress, because then it affects this union here. So as you go to climb up here on a canopy anchor, the potential for you blowing this out is much higher than me going on a base anchor through a good union that causes compression. Same way with rigging. Now, if I was just going to rig off right here with my rope straight down, now if it went like this, you're telling me, and you had your branch here, okay? You're telling me that if I was to put redirects up here, I've now got a weaker system? Because that I don't agree with. This is the part that I don't agree with. I think people try to stay too blanketed to this. If you put it through, it doubles the force on the rope. I have heard that for 10 years, it feels like now. But there's so many things that contradict that. Because if I was to put a redirect here, okay, and I was put a redirect here, and then a redirect even here, what I've done is I've taken all these branches, and actually let's rig out here, like where I was asking you to tie in from. Let's go here. Let's rig from here. Okay, so I put a redirect here. Now this branch where it was pulling down on it, because of the placement of my redirect, it now lifts. It shares. There, it's pulling them together. There, it's pulling them together. There, it's pulling, and it's causing compression. So adding redirects doesn't double. That kind of stuff doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't understand. yeah, I'm real fancy with my drawings. I understand what people say. You're putting double the amount of share of stress onto the rope, but there's so many other variables that's not priority at times. You're explaining load sharing and proper tie-in identification, not the forces applied during SRT, not the rope, the tie-in identification. I don't know. Put scales on your redirects and test it for real. Let's see how it actually works. That's what I'm saying. That's a test that I've always wanted to do. I don't have the kind of scales like that. Like, I would love to know that stuff. I want to test actually using a, like I was saying, on a, on a base anchor, as opposed to someone trying to canopy anchor out here. Because what they're doing is causing, if they were out on that branch, let's say this one even, because of the way that's located, and it is there when they tie in and they go up there, it's pulling directly down, which the potential for failure here is out of this world. As opposed to, because, and the reason they would do this and you would choose this is because it's 10 times easier to make that throw. If you're forced to use a canopy anchor at all times, you're not going to try to hit this real nice throw up through the middle where you go over 15 branches and like hit you're more likely to hit this. I've been doing it for like 26 years, and I think I'm cutting myself a few years short. So I'm just going off my experience. I'm definitely not saying that anybody's wrong. I think that they've done studies and they've gotten these numbers, but I think I think people have went too far with it. Like, I'm not saying that you're not right. Not the rope, the tie-in. And like, I'm 100% into hearing anything you have to say because you seem like you understand it a lot. You may teach me something. But anytime I've ever had this discussion with anybody who does this, we end up at a like, where I don't know. Every situation, every single one of them's different. 100%. You have to compare potatoes to potatoes. If we climb on the same point. No, that's just not. Okay. Okay. Right on. Yeah, if we're just doing the exact same points always, yeah. Sure. Sure. I think those kind of situations are that isn't being said every time that this gets brought up, and a new climber is gonna be so like defendant on, okay, I would base anchor here and feel, okay, let's say even here, let's do this. I would base anchor here. If there was a branch here, I would base anchor with my rope going up through there, and as I threw it, it went up through a couple other unions, and I tied down. I think I could rope walk on this, and the potential for it breaking is less than if you just tied off here. Same point. We're both using the same point. But because I've shared the load, which you can't do with a canopy anchor, a base anchor becomes better. There are situations for any of it, man. Like, I think being that blind to something, and I'm not saying it to you, this is more like the industry. I've went through it till I'm blue in the face about this. But I'm just going off. I'm not the guy that's going to go in front of a bunch of people and do a demonstration. If you guys were standing in front of me right now, I'm probably not doing this. But if I feel like I'm able to sit down with one person, two people, have this discussion, I love that kind of stuff. I think we can get somewhere with that. But I just think there's too many variables to make a blanket statement like that, unless you're going to be very specific every time you say that. And in this situation, I don't think that verbiage works. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but if this setup, if I was able to hit multiple unions, which you can't do on a canopy anchor, I've then created a safer tie-in point than a canopy anchor. I don't know. I agree with what you're saying. They have their places in the bag of tricks to be applied when 1,000%, 1,000%. And I absolutely see you have an understanding of stuff that I don't see with a lot of guys. Like, I get that. Like, and I appreciate that. But I ran into those situations where I've had tie-in points fail. I've had rigging points fail. And I've used those standards, and I've fought those standards. I've been the guy that said, no, you can't, that's not, you're doing that wrong. You know, you got to remember this and this. And then I used it and was like, so, like, when I say not being blind to it, but like being tunnel vision that this is better, I ran into troubles. And I'm just sharing, my experience with everybody in the hopes that maybe somebody else wouldn't have. John Bob, what's up, brother? How are you? But, dude, next gen, great conversation. Like, this is the stuff that I love doing. So, if you just threw a line over a branch, oh shoot, no. I just felt like reported your comment, Trevor, on accident. My bad. My thumb's stuck on it. Double tap that screen, y'all. Yeah, appreciate you, Chris. If you just throw a line over a branch and do a base anchor, what's the smallest diameter branch you'd feel comfortable on? There's no answer to that either, because the orientation of that branch is going to be the variable that changes it. The health of the tree and the angle of like the species of the tree. There's so many variables on all that stuff. It's just too hard, in my opinion. I try to avoid a textbook answer for anything because I just don't feel like there is. I just don't feel like there's a textbook answer for any of it. I think there are textbook answers that work maybe 90% of the time. But there are those few situations where nope, that don't work. Because I would feel comfortable on that little bitty branch if it could be even smaller, it could be even skinnier. But it depended on how I'm like Next Gen was saying, the what did you call it? The orientation of the rope, or the identification of a good anchor point, anchor identification. So you need to know that kind of stuff. You want vertical, if at all possible, branches. Now, if that same branch is growing horizontal or even downward, that branch is not, just because it's the same diameter, it's not as strong. You have gravity working against you, where you could cause compression into a vertical one and make it work. It wouldn't work on these because it would break. You know, unions, where they meet, like what's going on there. There's just so many variables, Trevor. I just don't think I could give you that answer. I've trusted branches that are smaller than my wrist. And there's other times where I wouldn't trust a branch that's this big, like 3 times my wrist. It just depends on that branch's so many different little things about the branch. But my sensei used to tell me, you are a man, not a crow. It will hold you. I love that. My sensei used to tell me, you are a man, not a crow. Not a cow. Oh my. Okay. I'm like, hang on. It'll hold a cow. It will hold you? Really? Like, you told me that last time you seen a cow get up this high. Those things don't leave the ground. That's funny, though. Yeah. Yeah, I've worked for a lot of guys that were like, well, I've seen you tie into much littler or much smaller. And yeah, but in this situation, man, I can't do it today. I'm not falling out of the tree. I only get one mistake. We're not playing a video game. I got lucky once in life to have a catastrophic mistake, basically cripple myself, think that I'd never be able to, even at one point, I didn't think I'd be able to walk again. More or less be able to climb and be athletic and do everything I do now. So, like, I'm not doing that no more. Like, I don't know. I guess it's rode out, already. I just hope my luck is better. But depends on the species. Time of the year is another one. See, Next Gen's got all the good answers. Like, you ain't wrong, brother. I'll tell you. How hard the wind is blowing, dude. 100%. All wood is different. That's what she said. Don't get me started on the rope vectors. Oh no. That's funny, dude. Please eat the Tyson chicken nugget. Yeah. Next Gen. That's like one thing I think we talk about over here is like building a proper rigging setup and being able to make a canopy stronger than it actually is to rig from by spreading things out and knowing the right angles and forcing the limb to move in directions that make that limb stronger as opposed to make it weaker. I feel like negative space in rigging a lot of times, that big gap in between causes things to pull it. There's so many variables, but this is the stuff I love, man. This is the stuff that I love talking about. That's when you tell them to go up. Yeah. It's always situational. I know that as a groundie. Yeah. Yeah, and I hate to say it, but at times it's gonna depend on that guy's mood, that climber's mood, how he's feeling that day, what he's willing to do. So it's just there's no other job where anyone's ever. Well, I guess there's probably a few different jobs out there that could understand the amount of variables, decisions, and like life altering situations that you put yourself in on a daily basis that other people will never understand. And that's why these kind of little meetups and get togethers and stuff like this I love, because there's not a lot of humans out on earth that are going to understand me when I talk about a lot of this stuff. So I stick to big old limbs. John, that's a safe way, brother. That's a safe way. I prefer being on the ground. Redhead. Yeah. Hey, whatever you're comfortable, pick them up off the ground. Yeah. I can do about 3 guys' job on the ground. Hell yeah. This is time in the game. Yep. Yeah, so I'll tell you what I want to show you guys is for those guys that maybe want to climb and they don't know how to do it. I'm going to show you. This is how I used to climb. And I climb like this. Let's see. Maybe 12 years or more. I climbed about 12 years like this and learned this way. This is how I first learned to climb, and this is the way that my dad climbed and raised me and my brother. So I don't know much else other than climbing trees and using chainsaws and removing trees, man. The mental game is so important. 100%. It's a battle in itself that no one will ever understand. So, no, they never will. But I'm glad, dude. I'm glad the industry is getting a little better about coming together. 100%, Mr. Freedom. I understand. I understand it from those other guys' point of views. Those guys that they look at it as competition, because if we're just being honest, let's just be 100% honest with each other. Tell me there ain't days when you get down and you've done something that you feel like you're walking a little higher than normal. You're maybe almost floating because you cheated death a couple times that day. You made it your bitch. Everything worked the way you wanted it to, and you were able to do something that maybe a couple humans on Earth could do. And it gives you a confidence and a swagger about you that you start to get cocky, and I think confidence is a great thing to have. But I think allies can be one of the greatest things that you can have. It's not 1980, 1990 anymore, where the only time you see your competition is when you pass by them and they took a job from you. You took our job. Like, come on now. It's not like that no more. You could use people as an ally where you couldn't before. So I would rather get along with guys. I would rather see guys stay safe. I would rather see people in my area's homes not get damaged. And I would rather get along with all of them. But you don't always get what you want. Some guys are just stubborn. But so here's how I used to climb. Now you don't have to have this. But this is the only thing I really had. Oh, did Greg leave? Shit. Greg, see you, brother. I'm sorry. Damn. I'll catch you next time, man. Greg's the best. Like, Greg is the best. But, yeah, 100% though. Like, it's rough sometimes to watch that kind of stuff. So I climbed on what was a taut line hitch, and we used one of these. This is the only thing we ever had. We had one on our rigging setup. We had one for our climbing. But I think we used just overhand knots is all it was. and we tie a couple of those, and then that's how our rope was set. We never set our rope first. We always free climbed up and maybe used this as a lanyard, but that's just what we did. Now y'all double tap. Hey, thank you, Peter. Have a good one, brother. So the way this setup works is you would clip in and you would take this tail and you would tie a knot to the moving end. So here's your anchor in your stationary end, and then you have your moving end of the rope. This one stays to you and is almost stationary. This one's always moving. So the way I climb is 2 over, or 2 under, 1 over. I was a very skinny kid as a teenager, much skinnier than I am now, which is crazy to say. But as I lay weight into that, now I climb on this. To go down, you collapse it. To go up, you would have to take and tend it with your other hand. So this little piece is the brake. So what would happen is you start to come down. If you start to go, you grab this piece, you pull up on it, it breaks you into place and locks the rope up. So there's a Blake's hitch that you can use. And another thing to always remember is that you want to keep this long enough that you can tie a stopper knot. So you can actually tie this thing up like, let's do something here. See if I can do this on this setup. So this works much better with a Blake's hitch, but you could tie in here, 2 under, 1 over. See, it's not going to work like a Blake's hitch would. But if you tied a Blake's hitch here, which is 4, then it goes up and through the middle, you can take the tail and go to this side and anchor and do the same thing. And what'll happen is as you pull down on this one, this knot over here will actually tend this one up for you. It's called a self-tending Blake's hitch. So if you get time, look that up. But I have a little too much here, but I would use like a scaffold knot probably here. And the reason I would use a scaffold knot is the way that it orientates the rope out of the clip, and it would bring a scaffold knot would bring the rope out the side the same way that just a half hitch like that does. But you could do 2 under, 2 over if you wanted. But see, like I said, I'm a very skinny guy, and I was back then even more. So the extra wrap there caused a little too much friction, and you always have to field dress these, get them all set back and get them into place and go up. But I would always say tie a stopper knot in the end just to be safe so that it can't come undone. But yeah, that's how I always did it. That's how I climbed for 15 years, and I didn't know anything other than that. Then I found Facebook, then I found YouTube, and then my whole world changed. So that's how my grandpa used to climb. I was showing him my descendants. That's awesome, dude. And blown away. He's 89 now. He gave me his old climbing boots, dude. That's so sick. Yeah, that's my dad's top handle right there that I had rebuilt. And that top handle raised me as a kid, and I'm honored to be able to use it now. But you technically don't need this. You could just take your rope, bring it down. Say you get stuck up in a tree and you dropped all your gear. All you have is a rope. You take your rope. You tie onto your saddle. So I'm just gonna pretend like my belt loop is my saddle, and I would tie in a couple half hitches, and then I would tie my taut line. And so this setup is something you can do. Ran out of rope, but then I'm able to climb with no carabiners, no clips, no nothing. But this setup's good to know, because let's say you're SRT and you've worked your way a long ways from your tie-in point, okay, and you're almost right across from it, and you have a redirect, but now you got to go back. So instead of going all the way down, all the way back over, I would unclip my redirect. Well, first I would pull the tail of my rope up, and I would pull it all the way up to me. Okay, then I'd have my tail. I'd throw it around where I'm at. I would tie that setup, that taut line hitch, and I would tighten it up. Then I would undo my redirect for my SRT that's back here, and I would tighten it up. So now I have a system here and a system back over here. And I would let myself out and pull myself in, and I would transfer myself across instead of going down and back up. Knowing those knots, and I believe it was Amber something that said it, know your knots. Know all this early stuff. It is so important, and you'll use it. It will come back up. There's a reason to know these techniques. It's not like hazing. You don't have to do these steps, but I promise you these steps are important and will save you one day. So, guys, I don't want to waste any more of your time. I really, really, really appreciate everybody coming here. I hope everybody has a very safe week. Oh, the week's over. Why am I thinking it's Sunday? So, we'll be back doing this on Saturday. Saturday at this time, we do a live feed every single week. There's a bunch of you here that I don't normally see. So, if you guys get time, you want to join us Saturday, we do that every single Saturday. We do these live feeds. We call it Tree Talk. And, yeah, join us. We'll be glad to have you. I appreciate you giving me your time here. If I can help you with anything, let me know. I'm here, and I ain't going nowhere. So, if you're interested, I have memberships. They're how-to. A lot of stuff on it's how-to. It's more of a personal based, like I'm going to do some live feeds and stuff there. The first people that join, I will be sending stickers out to them. I only have like 5 or 6 of these stickers, then they're gone. I'll get some more stuff, and I'm going to do giveaways for people when they join the memberships. But there's extra content over there, and there's a lot of how-to stuff. Plus, I got this box right here with, I wish there was some way I could show you this, but it says what it is on every corner of it. So, there's no way I can show you. Is there? Yeah, there is. So, see this box? That's how big it is. This box is a tool that every tree guy should get. I'll be putting a video out on my memberships. Thank you guys for joining me. Next Gen, it was a pleasure talking to you, brother, Mr. Freedom. I appreciate all your time. Guys, I will catch you on the next one. Stay safe. And hope to talk to you guys again, all right? Have a good night, brothers. See ya.